Hello everybody, it's me, I'm back again. I'm just going to do a little bit of editing to that so you can see things better. And I thought I'd do something for a bit of a change. Let's face it, I've done loads of videos, welcome to the video, welcome to the stream, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've been doing that recently. And a fair chunk of that has been around either deck building or decks and how to build them and play them and resource curves and that sort of things. And I know I've been doing big mechs recently. I did the Smash Hawk the other day. I did the first Daisy one. I've decided I'm actually going to do another big mech, but an inner sphere deck, and do the Daisy stuff. But I just thought it's a lot of decks. It's a lot of decks. It's a lot of decks, and I thought I might do something a little different for a bit of a change. And one of the things we never got around to doing is doing any of the stuff in Crusade. I don't even think we did Arsenal, but I thought if I started at the newer end, so to speak, and headed back towards the start, that would be a way of maybe meeting in the middle. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to go with good old tier maker and look at the missions, and only the missions in Crusade. There's 13 of them. Is it? No, there's not 13. I'm lying. There's 15 of them. And count them, Mark. It's obvious. And I thought, well, that would be a nice little stream, little snippet, and then maybe at some point I do maybe the clan mechs or the inner sphere mechs or the command cards and split them up into chunks like that. Okay, so here we go. I have loaded all of the cards, and literally they are straight out of Lackey. Unfortunately, I think we've just clipped the top of them. So what I've done here is I have put them, or I've got a little screen grab of the actual card in Lackey. So you've got a nice big picture. Excuse me while I play with my slippers again. My feet are on properly. Um, a nice big picture in the corner so you can actually see what's going on when we actually look at the card itself. Because the images, they're all right, but we may or may not get around to seeing them in great depth. So, first up, in alphabetical order, because it's as good an order as any, we have the card called Breaking the Envelope. And in fact, no, we don't have Breaking the Envelope. We have Blaze of Glory. My mouse was in the wrong place. Blaze of Glory. And Blaze of Glory says play only when a unit you control is the target, and double all damage dealt by that unit. Okay, so that's pretty circumstantial. Your unit has to be attacked, or be the target of the mission. So maybe it works when you're using slower mechs. Okay, fine. If it's a big mech, then if it's something like your Gladiator D doing 9 damage, then if there's 2 or 3 mechs attacking to take it out because it's a 310, it's not going to fall over too easily. Then doubling that 9 damage to get 18 is probably going to obliterate most of the things that are attacking it. The problem is that it's very, very inflexible, i.e., you can only use it at that point. You can't use it when there isn't a battle, for example, or when you're attacking. And doubling the damage is quite nice, but realistically, it's got to be a mech. Now, wouldn't you rather have something? And I'll just go for a little change in scenery here. Sorry, I'm playing around and being a muppet when it comes to Lucky. Wouldn't you rather just have a Comguard response team, which if they attack your mech, you get +4? Okay, it's in a sphere only, but wouldn't you rather just have +4 on that? If the mech is slow and it's cheap, then the chances are it's got less than 4 attack anyway. You're probably looking at, in a sphere wise, getting into somewhere like the 6 or 7 cost before you get to 5 attack mechs in general. You look at the Awesome, it's a 310-4. You've got to get to the Tempest or something like that at 7, where you're into that realm. So doubling up means that you're playing a very heavy deck, and +4 damage from Comguard is, is as good as another 4 from your mech, so you're effectively doubling it anyway. And Comguard you can also play on a site if you're not blocked. So Comguard's got a lot more flexibility. It's a much better card. So Blaze of Glory, not a great card. Okay. And I suppose really at this point I should work out what these wonderful rankings are. A, B, C, and D sound pretty much like high school. And S, as I understand it, because I'm not a great fan of S tier, they say it's superb. Well, isn't A pretty damn good anyway? But hey ho, we'll stick with that for the purposes of today. So if S tier is godly and A tier is good and you'd play it, B tier is playable, C is a bit circumstantial. It's probably C to D. Do I stick it in D? Do I stick it in C? I'm going to go with D. I'm going to go with D because you're not going to play it. You might play it in draft. It could be a reasonable surprise, but you are not going to play it in any constructed format whatsoever. Okay. Next up, we have Breaking the Envelope. And this is a nice overheat card, which says play only during battle. Okay, so there's a restriction straight off, which gets me having a nervous tick. Choose one of your units. Whenever you use one of that unit's overheat options, double the option damage and attack bonus. Okay, so if you're playing an overheat deck, then potentially this has got merit. If you're running and I know I'm flicking in between them, a redline pilot that negates that damage, then Breaking the Envelope is basically doubling your overheat options for free. And that's quite nice. But if you're not playing the overheat deck, then basically you are going to hurt yourself, because where it says double the options damage and attack bonus, that's double what you overheat to yourself and double what you give out. Yes, it is breaking the envelope, literally. Is it usable? Maybe. Is it usable? Probably more in tactics than League, because League tends to have lots or multiple overheat options where things are split down, whereas League tends to be just overheat 3+4 instead of overheat 2+2, 2+3, 1+3, or whatever it is in the myriad of things which probably should form a matrix. So, is it playable? Yeah. Is it good? No. It's quite niche. I think I want to put it C. I want to put it maybe C minus, maybe D plus. Maybe I need to add another category. Can I? Let's add another row. Let's add another row above and add a row below. Hey, let's have some fun. So this is going to be C minus stroke D plus. And this is going to be, we'll do it this way, C plus, let's go, I really am not typing very well today, am I? B minus stroke C plus. And I think I'm probably going to drop it into there. There might be a case for moving Blaze of Glory, but hell, it's there. Of course, now the only problem with this is that actually all of the lovely cards are now off the screen on here. Maybe I'll just drop that up. Yeah, that's better. We'll get rid of the names. So next up, we have Close Formation. And of course, in true style, the screen is not showing what Close Formation does. Play only if you lost initiative. Each of your units gets 1 attack and 1 armor. 1 attack and 1 armor is very nice. It's a nice set of bonuses. It's a positive set of bonuses. The problem here is that normally with a mission, you are trying to do one of two things, and if you can get both of them out of it, then you're on an absolute winner chicken dinner. So the thing you want to do is, if you are trading, you want to boost your damage so that you kill your opponent's unit. And 2, you want to boost your armor or negate damage to your unit in order for it to survive. Those are the 2 rules. If you can do both, then that mission is arguably very, very good. Okay. If you can do one of them, then the mission is usable. The problem with this is, yes, the +1 attack and +1 armor are great, and arguably they can make the difference between a mech dying or being alive. And remember, if it's alive, it will come back and attack again, so it's another damage points of whatever its attack is. But in that case, the problem is that it's when you lose initiative, and the problem there is that the other guy will know that your mech has got 1 extra armor and just allocate more damage to it to kill it. So the armor bit on here kind of gets negated because of the initiative penalty. Yes, it works if you lose initiative, so obviously you're defending, or you could be attacking and the guy's playing with pilots. There is a caveat deck where you don't play with tactics at all, but you have missions like this. And the idea is that you, at the start of the mission, he attacks, you block, and then you say, I lose initiative. And then you jump your mech to play because you now have +1 initiative. You've intentionally lost it at the start of the battle, which is perfectly legal. You lose initiative, then you jump your unit to play or be able to play a mission card, and this being one of those lose initiative mission cards. Whether they were designed to be used that way or whether they were designed as anti pilot decks, I'm not sure. Okay, so is it usable? Yes, I think the +1 attack is probably better than nothing, and it could make the difference between killing his mech and yours, or his mech surviving. The armor, because of that initiative bonus, is very, very suspect. So I'm gonna put this into a C-D+. It's playable. Maybe I should put it into D. Is it better than breaking the envelope? Probably not. Okay. Next up, we have Conquer. Play only when attacking a unit or command card, and only if you lose initiative. Wow. That's pretty restrictive. If the target would be scrapped later this mission, instead tap it, remove all damage counters from it, and gain control of it. That's powerful. And just to clarify, if there's a pilot on that mech, you get the pilot. If there is a retrofitted missiles risk system on there, you get the retrofit. You get the mech as it is, warts and all. There is a slight difference between this and quick salvage operation, because quick salvage operation says it's scrapped. So when it goes to the scrap heap, it loses all of those other bonuses and embellishments. But this says it doesn't get that far. You get it. And where do you play this? You play this against Kai, Champion of Solaris. For 2 reasons. Sorry to keep flashing Viper's Maw up there. But when you look at Kai, you win initiative. So you've automatically won it. So it doesn't matter how much initiative, how many pilots are in there, you win initiative. Which is why the Conquer card, which says you lose initiative, works against Kai quite nicely. It says attacking a unit or command card. That's quite restrictive unless you go hunting Kai. If you put Kai on a Centurion or something that's medium speed or even slower, then it's potentially huntable, which is why you never put Kai on something like that. You always go for the fast mechs on that, because then it cannot be hunted. Okay, but if someone does that, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depends. You can use Conqueror, and then you get your own Kai, which is quite fun when you're playing Steel Viper. The command card stuff I still haven't worked out, because a lot of the command cards will either require a block, or you're just going to get through and kill it anyway. So stealing the command card is even harder, mainly because you're attacking unless he's got a source of initiative, which is unlikely unless he blocks. Then yeah. So is it playable? Yes. Probably not in a normal deck. at best, this is a sideboard card. This is a sideboard card if you're playing a tournament and you're thinking, I'm going up against some guy who's got a pilot with an initiative bonus. I mean, I've picked out Kai, but it works against Victor Steiner Davy, and in fact, anybody that's got a an initiative bonus, Aris Sung, for example, or Vlad, or whatever else it is, it will work against them because pretty much you lose initiative. The problem really is that you have to lump everything at it, and all it needs is one negation card, one defensive card, and that screws up. Are you going to put it in a normal deck? No, it's going to go in a sideboard. I'm going to put it as... Is it going to be controversial? I'm going to put it as B minus C plus, because when it works, it's devastating. When it fails, it's spectacular. It's one of those. It's hard to play, but the payoff if you get it right is really good. As I said, you're never going to put it in a main deck. You're probably going to have a couple in a sideboard. Okay, next up, Coup de Grace, which is a Steel Viper only mission, one of 2 Steel Viper only missions that came out in Crusade. And Coup de Grace says, choose an opposing unit, double the number of damage counters put on that unit when resolving damage. Now, that's crazy, because effectively it's kind of nearly a double damage option. If you think you're going up against a 1/6 mech with a 4 damage attacking mech, so say you've got a, let's just pick something out, let's pick out a Watchman, a 1/6/2, and you're attacking that with a Fenris B. Here it is, a 1/6/4. So the 4 damage hits the 1 armor of the Watchman and gets turned down to 3 structure damage, which is not enough to kill the Watchman. However, and okay, I know it's a Wolf card and it's Steel Viper, but it's numbers, yeah? In this case, if you play Coup de Grace, those 3 structure counters get doubled to 6, which is enough to kill it. So this is kind of a damage doubler. It's not quite, because obviously armor has a huge effect in there. But it is a great way for Steel Viper players to kill big mechs or deal damage. And okay, it doesn't prevent a death, but it does help, or is one of the few ways to deal with a guy that puts heavy mechs on the table. If you think about an awesome, let's look at our standard stock awesome. The 8Q, it's a 3-10-4. Okay, if you attack into that, you've got to do 13 to kill it. Whereas actually, if I do 8 and Coup de Grace, I've doubled my 5 damage to kill it, and that's a lot of extra damage. And given that the awesome kicks out only 4 damage, you can actually use the mission to kill it without losing your unit. So, Coup de Grace, which I think is actually a very good mission, I'm going to drop into the A tier. I think this is definitely playable. You could play it in many, many decks. Obviously, it's Steel Viper only. But I would put it there. I very often, whenever I have a Steel Viper deck and I've got missions in there, I always have one Coup de Grace. And through half the games I play, I always end up wishing I'd got another one. Or I could find Perigard to pull it back, because it is so good at killing other units. It's really, really useful. Okay, arguably one that everybody's been waiting for, falsified maps. And this came to light in the 1999 World Championship with Tom Shyster Smith and his Rocky Gorge Master deck. Janky and crazy that it was, with some bits of C3 and some bits of other stuff. But credit to Tom Smith, he worked out that that deck was really, really weak to Sandhurst, SRMA, small vehicle swarms, and he sideboarded accordingly. And at the time, you would see the odd terrain in a deck. You look at that year's Dave Hymas deck, is 1 Fog Shrouded Moors in it, for example. There weren't a lot of other terrains kicking around. But falsified maps is, providing you have tactics, go and find a terrain. It says play only when attacked. It's going to be a terrain in your area, so that makes a lot of sense. Search your stockpile for any terrain card and put it into play activated in the region containing the target. Shuffle your stockpile. Shuffle's quite nice as well, especially if you've restocked something you want. So this is the Rocky Gorge play. So he got attacked, he played false maps, dropped Rocky Gorge, everything takes 2. That's great. Now, there is another caveat to this, and personally, I'm going to say it here, I don't agree with it. It is the double gorge effect, whereby you declare the Rocky Gorge at the start of the mission when you're attacked. You then declare your blockers. You then play your mission card, which is false maps. You then bring in another Rocky Gorge. Because you declared the first Rocky Gorge, the 2 damage from that stands, and then you declare the new Rocky Gorge, the mapped in gorged 2 damage, to do 4 to everything. It's a bit circumspect because, one, you've got to pull it off when there's already a Rocky Gorge in place, and personally I think I'm going to go against what is normally my it's a card game principle, as opposed to it's a scenario type thing, and say that it's either a Rocky Gorge or it's not. And I know, and this is going to be controversial again, but I'm going to say it as I see it, and I'm always straight and honest with you on that, is that one of the things that BattleTech players liked when they started playing BattleTech was that it wasn't Magic with big mechs. There was no, when you built a mech, counter spell to stop you buying it, putting it on the table or bringing it out. You know, there was none of this, you're pissing on my pond in my phase stuff. I get my go to do what I want, and then you get your go. And whilst I'm doing my thing, you just bugger off and leave me alone. I'm doing my thing. And that was one of the things that BattleTech players liked, was the fact that you're not getting in my way. I'm setting my stall out. I'm doing what I want. If I screw up, I screw up. Okay, that's fine. That's on me. But I'm not putting a mech out and you're recalling it or counterspelling it or whatever else it is as an instant on my turn. Yeah, get out of my face. Yeah. So anyway, enough of the Magic rant. So personally, it's one of those Magic timing things, and I don't agree with it. It's been ruled the other way. It's been ruled. Okay. False maps in that respect is it's got to be up in S tier. It really has, purely because of that effect, purely because you can pick a terrain that you want. It doesn't have to be a Rocky Gorge. You know, if you go and do something like Narrow Valley, which restricts it, it takes effect afterwards. So, you know, Heavy Woods prevents 2 damage, etc., etc. So being able to pull the terrain out, to keep your units alive, Fog Shrouded Moors, Heavy Woods, etc., etc., or doing additional damage to kill 2, 3, 4, whatever units it is kind of in that double effect category. And additionally, the gorge or whichever terrain it is does not go away afterwards. So effectively, it's like a free deployment, because you would have, if you'd got a Rocky Gorge in your hand, paid 3 and put it on the table. So it's effectively saved you 3 or 4 resources as well. It's got to be S tier for that. Really, really has. Very, very good. Very, very powerful. Okay. Next on the list is Fire from Cover. And play only if you lost initiative. There's quite a theme of the initiative cards in Crusade. And this says prevent 2 damage to each of your units. And this is worse than Close Formation, because it's prevent 2, and the other guy knows that you've prevented 2, so therefore he can just allocate 2 more to killing you. Is it playable? It's definitely worse than Close Formation. Close Formation, yeah, Close Formation, because you don't even get an attack, and the 2 damage is easily compensated for and can result in a kill. I am going to drop that down into the D tier. Is it playable versus Blaze of Glory? I might put it in above Blaze of Glory, depending on my player. Okay. Next up, we have Force of Will. And there are a lot of people that like this card. And I've got to admit, I kind of disagree with them slightly. It's a generic card, so it can be played by either clan or in a sphere. And basically, well, it says one of your piloted mechs gets +4 attack, and you may prevent 1 damage to that mech. So, where are you going to play this? Is my question. What deck is this going to fit in? Because if it's going to fit in to a Kai and Victor deck, +4 is just even more. It's win more. Kai is already doing +4, Victor's doing +3 and +1 for everything else on there. The numbers coming out of those guys are just stupid. And if you get to a point where actually I'm going to put another 4 damage on top of it, the chances are you've probably won anyway. The interesting bit, arguably, is prevent 1 damage, because that might mean that Kai and Victor might survive a battle. But as I said, in that case, if there's a huge battle and everything dies and you're left with 3 mechs on the table because the guy's wiped out Kai and Victor and he's got nothing and you've got a free run at the stockpile, hell, I'll just do that, black market, and bring them back. Thank you very much. So I don't see the damage boost being overly effective in Kai and Victor decks, for want of a better phrase. When you look at the clans, then which pilots are you going to run it with? There's no die roll, so you're probably not going to run it with Star Commander. Natasha's too expensive. Vlad, maybe. The one that springs to mind is probably a Rise Star, so you can bring it back and get another +4 damage. Given that it is +4, then okay, that's pretty good. But would you rather have that, or would you rather have a Superior Nav? Okay, Superior Nav's got restrictions, play only when unblocked. This has, and can be played on any mech. Force of Will requires you to have a pilot on there, which is quite restrictive. So is it good? Yes. But would you put it in a deck, and what would you take out for it? Would you rather have other cards in your deck? If you're playing something like Mike Bodie's deck, if you look at the 2000 Worlds, where he's basically got a low-level cheap swarm with Wolfhounds and Centurions and 2 and 3 cost mechs, and he's playing Kai and Victor, he doesn't play Force of Will. He plays 2 Com Guard and 2 pushing the envelope. And the reasons for that are that he's not restricted by the pilot element. If any of his mechs are hunted, he gives them +4 with Com Guard, or he can give them +3 with pushing, which is enough to kill all hunting phantoms in the Boom Wolf deck, for example. He's got the flexibility of killing dashers if dashers go against the stockpile, and +3 on a pushing the envelope can be used at any point, i.e. when he's attacking and he needs the extra damage to finish the game. So, controversially, Force of Will is good, but I personally don't think it's that good. It's B tier. It's definitely playable. Is it going to win you a game? Maybe on the armour. Not on the damage, I don't think. You know, if you've got Kai and Victor in there, then they're going to be putting numbers through the roof anyway. So, next we have Intimidation Tactics, which, if you ever get the chance, look at the original art for this, because it's absolutely amazing. Play only during battle and only if you lost initiative. Okay, so there's another one of these initiative ones. Each opposing unit gets -1 attack. So that's actually quite useful. That's quite powerful, because it's each opposing unit, and that could be, if it's a swarm, it's all of them. Whereas if you think about fire from partial cover, it's prevent damage to your units, which can be made up, and close formation, each of your units +1 attack, which is quite nice. So okay, they know they've got to do 1 attack, but 1 attack can be actually, as I said, across the group. And if that's 4 mechs or 4 vehicles or whatever else it is, that's actually 4 damage prevented, which is at least playable and at least contributes something. If you've prevented 4 damage, then the chances are you've probably prevented a mech death or a defender of your part losing. And I say defender because it's play when you lose initiative. And again, if you're playing the janky Dragonfly deck where there's no tactics and then you're jumping for it, then it could be useful. Never going to change a game. I would put it in here. I would probably drop it. It's definitely above close formation. Whether it's better than breaking the envelope, don't know. I'll have a look at the end and see if I want to change anything. So, next up is Maskurovka Sabotage. And this is a Liao Inner Sphere only card, which says play only during battle, roll a die, 1, draw a card. That's not bad. If I fail, I get a card. Could be anything. You never know. I could draw a mission, which would be great next go. Or 2 to 6, choose an opposing unit. That the amount of damage dealt by that unit in excess of its base attack is redirected to that unit. This is a crazy card. That is crazily good. So let's look at something that could work with that. Let's have a look at, here we go, let's look at this Annihilator. Here we go. It's a 3/7/6 Alpha 2. Actually, it's not a great example. Actually, here, I'm going to use, I'm going to go and use the one that I remember. And I remember having fun against this. Maskurovka Sabotage won me a tournament. And in the first game, I was playing my good friend Glenn Few, who played a really, really weird Marek missile deck with Apollos and stuff like that. And because I had a really crap draw. I had like 1 tactics and a Centurion in the first hand and stuff. And it took me like 4 goes to get the Centurion off, and he'd been beaten on me in that. So after the first game, which I lost, I sideboarded in 2 Maskurovka Sabotages. And again, I had a really pants draw at the start. And anyway, after a lot of fighting, it ended up being reasonably stalematy with me having 2 or 3 mechs on the board. And he'd basically run out of units, but he'd got this Perseus, which he was blocking with. And it's a 2/9/2, which is really durable because he's also got ECM. So effectively, it's a 3/9/2, and it's got 3 missiles. So he played the missiles and rolled them, and I allocated all my damage to this mech. And he rolled, I can't remember what he rolled, but I needed 4, I think. And he rolled 4, and I played the Maskurovka Sabotage. So any damage above 2 that he allocated got allocated back to that Perseus. And in the end, I killed it. And then the next hand, I drew Black Market Connections, and I went and got my Maskurovka, and he put out another Perseus. And then one of the strangest things I've ever seen is I attacked again, he blocked, and he didn't allocate his missiles. Missiles are an ability stroke option, and he didn't allocate them because he knew that if he did, I would play the Sabotage and basically he'd kill himself. Okay. Fortunately, I'd kept a couple of blockers back, so he was in a position where actually he couldn't attack me because he knew I'd got the Sabotage. So having the Sabotage in my hand was actually worth more until he decided to use his missiles, because either he was going to attack, block and die, or attack and die. So basically, he ended up in a stalemate, and I won that game based on Maskurovka Sabotage. And then the next game, I drew great, he drew rubbish, and I beat him 2-1. It was a really good game, which, you know, you say, oh, missile decks, gave me a lot of hassle at the time. But the fact that this can deal with lots of things, let's look at our good old, let's go look at Widowmaker, for example. 4, 11, 12, overheat 5+7. You play a Sabotage on that and it overheats, and it does 7 to itself, which is great. You only then need to do another 8 to kill it. So Maskurovka Sabotage for me is, it's not quite S tier. It's not quite S tier. It's better than Coup de Grace, effectively, because there's a psychology in that. Is Lao only. If you get a chance to look at the picture's absolutely gorgeous. Another great Franz Verwinkel. It's S minus A plus, but I'm afraid if I start putting more and more categories on here, I'm going to lose all the cards off the bottom of the screen. Maybe I'll tweak it in a minute. So next up, move to dubious cover. Play only when blocking. Okay, so you're being attacked. Half the total damage dealt to one of your units, rounded up, is dealt to the target instead. Which is quite a weird thing. But when you think of a resource, let's just go and pick a resource out here. So let's think about an assembly. Say somebody attacks your assembly and you block. Say they're doing 7 damage. If you play move to dubious cover, you round up the damage, you half it, dealt to one of your units, so it's blocked, and then round it up, and that's dealt to the target. So you would then send, just say it's 7 damage on our Watchman from before, 7 damage coming into that. You take half of it and round it up, that's 4. That is applied to the resource, which in this case, this assembly happens to have an armor of 4, and basically nothing happens because it bounces off that, and your Watchman takes 3. It's not great. It's quite a pain in the arse to move to play as well, and it has to be blocking. It's quite restrictive. Can you play it? Yes, but it depends on what the target is. Certainly if the target's your stockpile, you don't want to let that amount of damage through. Where's it going? It's going in D. It's going in D. Probably it might have a use somewhere. Yeah. So, next. Steady Fire. This is a generic card again. It's a missile-based one. Okay, play only if you lost initiative. Now that's not bad in a missile deck, because if the guy, one of the ways of dealing with missile decks is to hunt the missile boats. So if he's hunting your missile boat, then arguably you will probably have lost initiative. So that's not a big problem, because you're using this for when he attacks your missile boat. Roll all the missile die for each of your unit's missile options now. Okay. Whenever you use a unit's missile option, use these dice rolls instead of rolling when damage resolves. Okay. The benefit of this is you know what your die rolls are. Fine. If you've got Narc and Targeting Ace, then yes, you can really use that and tweak them to your heart's content. You know what damage you can do, and you can allocate it within reason, missile by missile. Remember, it has to be missile by missile. If you've rolled 5 on a 3 and a 2, you cannot allocate 1 damage somewhere and 1 damage somewhere else off a missile, because its missiles are assigned to units. So you'd have to assign 3 and 2, which is a bit awkward anyway. Use the die rolls. So the idea is that you know what those die rolls are. Would you put it in a missile deck? Maybe. I'm not convinced. I definitely think there are better options for this. You know, something like nice grouping. I mean, nice grouping is just really go away. Basically, you roll the die and you do the damage equal on the die rolls. Okay, it's look of what you roll and you can modify it. But, you know, steady fire is not as good in that respect. Playable, yes. Is it good? Not really. Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it about there in the C and D tier. Next up, we have surprise maneuvers. Your opponent gets -2 initiative. Draw a card. Okay. Great way of stopping your opponent playing missions, especially if they haven't got a jumper, especially if they haven't got a pilot on the table. Draw a card is nice. Does it do much? Maybe it prevents something from your point. Maybe it stops one of your units dying because he can't play a mission card. You know, but apart from that, yeah. Where am I going to put it? It's playable. You draw a card. It's not great. It's C. Maybe it's C minus. Maybe it's the end of C's. Maybe it's the top of C minus D. Maybe it's probably there actually. But yeah, yeah, not great. But if you had it in draft and you drew it, you think, well, it's usable maybe. If I know the other guy's got a mission card, maybe it could be that I've got jump as well, and I can prevent his mission effectively ticking off. So, okay, next one. And we're into Liao territory as well. Steel Viper got two, Lao got two, and everyone else got the rest of the missions in Crusade. So Trojan Horse. Play only if unblocked. Scrap one of your units. That unit deals no damage. Target receives 7. Okay. So I can go and get my lovely little Hussar. Here it is. It's a 011. Probably the most frail thing around with a large laser. And I can attack the stockpile. If I'm not blocked, I can scrap my Hussar using Trojan Horse and deal 7 damage instead. That's really good. And the 7 damage kills resources. This gets used with the bribed pilot deck, whereby you pay and you steal your opponent's mech. You then attack something unblocked, and then you play Trojan Horse. This has the effect of A, dealing damage to whatever it is you're attacking, stockpile, resource, etc., etc., and scrapping the mech, which means at the end of your turn you don't get to return it to the guy who owns it because it's been scrapped. So double win in that case, double gain. As I said, you can play it on something else for 7 damage. It's good. It's up in the S tier. Is it better than Coup de Grace? Maybe. Is it better than Maskarovka? Maybe. Maskarovka's got more flexibility. It's play with unblocked. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it there. End of A. It can be used on its own. It can be used in a Bride Pilot deck. And finally, the last card for this review is Viper's Maw, the other Steel Vipers card. And this says play only when attacking and only during battle. Okay. Choose up to 2 opposing units. Sorry, choose up to 2 opposing untapped units. That are not in battle. Tap those units, which then join the battle. This is a game finisher card. You attack, he blocks. That's the only caveat to it, though. He's got to block. If he doesn't block, then you can't play Viper's Maw. Yeah, because it's only attacking and only during battle. Battle occurs when there is an opposing unit. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not a battle. This is why he's got those cards that say play only during battle, because that's what this means. There is an opposing unit, attacking you and dealing damage. That's what battle is. So the caveat to that is that the guy has to block. But then realistically, if he's not blocking, you're going to go straight through, deal your damage. So that's a win situation. If not, you can use Viper's Maw to bring in 2 additional mechs, which they're untapped and they come into they're not in the battle, and you tap them. Okay, and that's a great way of tapping him out, because obviously if you've got, say it's a 3-on-3 situation, you've got 3 mechs, he's got 3 mechs, you attack with 1, he blocks, you Viper's Maw the other 2 in, and then your other 2 are free to go straight through. I've done a session on Viper's Maw, or a stream on Viper's Maw, and again, it's in the YouTube as well. So if you want to have a look at that for a bit more tactics stuff, then go and do it, because you can do it on the small mech sacrifice against 1 plus 2 other biggies. He's going to die horribly, but then everything else flows through. Or you can do the attack with the big one and pull in the smaller ones in order to kill them off mode. You are never going to put 6 of these in a deck. you are probably never going to put 3 of them in a deck. Would you put 2 in a deck? Maybe. You would put 1 in a deck as a finisher, as a stalemate breaker, as a game ender. And from that point, it's got to be an S tier. The potential to either kill or prevent kills with this card is crazy, and you can win an awful lot of the time because of that. If it gets scrapped, you just black market, and away you go. So, wow, surprisingly, I didn't end up with any C's. That's quite unusual. Maybe I should push one of these into the C category. There you go. I've now got a bit of a spread. You can argue about some of these. This is personal preference. I know a lot of people like Force of Will. I know a number of people don't think Coup de Grace is quite as good as that. There are a lot of fans of Moore and Maps and Trojan Horse kicking around. Conquer, maybe I'm being a bit generous on it. As I said, when it works, it's great. When it doesn't, it's absolutely awful. You've got to know what the meta is. If the meta's pilot, then it's great. If the meta isn't, then it's probably D. Maybe I should move that into a C category. Maybe. Okay, fine. Here we go. Maybe I should just remove the category. That's a bit better. There you go. So there you go. Wow, it was fun. I've never used Tier Maker before. Quite like that. And hopefully you found that interesting about maybe what is good and what is bad and what are playable cards. Obviously, there's a lot of circumstances where some of these cards work, especially the lose initiative ones. And you may find that, you know what, I quite like some of those. Close formation, for example, is pretty good card all round if you use it. But it's all situational. Try them, play with them, experiment with them. If you like them, great. Play them, put them in a deck. If you don't like them, throw them out, chalk it to experience, put something else in, and have some fun. And that's the end of the stream. Enjoy, have some fun. As ever, take care out there. It's a big bad world. And I'll see you another time for another stream and another day. Take care, everybody.